The first time I realized my driveway had turned into the neighborhood's unofficial express lane, I nearly T-boned a pearl-white BMW inching out like it owned the pavement. Picture this, me, one-armed with groceries, balancing a bag of oranges and a half-broken box of cereal, trying to make it up my own drive, when that car just glides by, slow, smug, not even a flicker of apology. Just a flash of blonde hair and the faintest hum of an engine that probably cost more than my entire kitchen renovation. Yeah, that was my welcome home moment. The HOA president herself treating my private asphalt as her personal shortcut, waving entitlement around like some invisible badge. Honestly, if it hadn't been so absurd, it would have been funny. I'd bought this house for the privacy, end of the cul-de-sac, no through traffic, just a battered fixer-upper with sun-bleached siding and a driveway that ran the length of my lot. The realtor mentioned quirks, but she never said I'd be hosting the community's morning rush hour. I figured, what's the worst? Maybe a stray kid on a bike, or an Amazon guy lost on GPS. But a self-appointed neighborhood monarch blazing her way across my yard? That I did not expect. At first, I thought maybe it was a fluke, just a one-off. But day after day, 8:12 sharp, the BMW reappeared, always precise, always with the same lazy confidence, like she was daring me to say something. And when I finally got the story, leaned over my fence and heard a neighbor mutter, "That's Marlene, HOA president. Good luck." I almost laughed out loud. Of course it was the HOA president. Who else would turn trespassing into a lifestyle? She'd been running this place for 2 decades, wielding her little gavel like a scepter, forcing folks to repaint shutters or hide their canoes, all under the guise of community standards. The first time I tried to handle it, I was polite, too polite, honestly. She was getting into her car one morning, and I waved, all neighborly. "Hey Marlene, I've noticed you've been cutting through my driveway. Mind stopping?" She didn't even blink, just smiled like I was a kid asking why the sky is blue. "Oh sweetheart, it's always been that way. Community easement, you know?" Except I did know. I'd read the deed, check the county maps, my name, my property, period. When I pressed her, her tone shifted, but the message was clear. Don't rock the boat, play nice, or you'll find out how rough the water can get. The next day, the HOA newsletter showed up with a gentle reminder about community spirit. Then came the mailbox violations, recycling bin warnings, snide comments about my half-finished yard. Subtle, but relentless. She was drawing battle lines, and I was the problem. Newcomer. You know what I did? I started documenting every snarky letter, every drive-through, photos, notes, timestamps. She thought she was teaching me a lesson, but all she did was hand me a file of ammunition. Then one Saturday, she flew down my driveway so fast, she almost took out my sawhorse. That was it. I slammed my hand on her hood, and for the first time, she rolled her window down. "You really shouldn't block community access," she said, syrupy sweet. I just laughed. "This isn't a public road, Marlene. You're trespassing." Her smile vanished, and her words came out like a warning. "People who don't cooperate find it hard to live here." It wasn't even subtle. That's when I decided if she wanted to play hardball, I'd build a wall, literally. I ordered pavers and gravel. Told the neighbors I was fixing up the patio. Every night, I worked by porch light, sweating through the dust and the quiet satisfaction that comes from outsmarting a tyrant. When it was done, the drive was blocked by a stone dead end, beautiful, solid, and absolutely impassable. The next morning, right on schedule, the BMW rolled up and hit the barrier with a screech of brakes. Marlene's window dropped. "Excuse me, what is this?" I played dumb, sipping my coffee. "Driveway improvement. Looks good, doesn't it?" Her face flushed. "You can't block a community passage." "It's not community," I replied. "It's mine. Got the deed, wanna see?" She threatened fines, legal action, everything short of calling in the Marines. But the best she could do was storm off. Tires squealing, her audience of neighbors peeking through curtains, stifling laughter. The fines came, $500 here, $300 there, more mailbox fodder for my file. I didn't pay a dime. I filed a complaint with the county, complete with pictures and documentation, and then I waited for the next move. Sure enough, she tried to humiliate me at the next HOA meeting, waving her stack of fines. Like scripture. When it was my turn, I just walked up, laid out the deed, the maps, and the sheriff's report. and told the room the truth. The silence was heavy. Then the room broke. Chuckles. Whispers, heads nodding. The Queen had lost her grip, and she knew it. But Marlene wasn't finished. A week later, a construction crew showed up with a jackhammer, ready to demolish my wall. "We're here to correct your obstruction," she announced. I informed the crew, politely, on camera, that they'd be liable for trespassing. They packed up and left. Marlene's face was pure rage as she sped away, her vice president scurrying after. What happened next was a slow-motion coup. The neighbors rallied. Mr. Green, Mrs. Thompson, folks who'd lived under her thumb for years, started talking. Openly. A petition circulated, signatures piled up, and finally, the HOA called a vote of no confidence. At the meeting, Marlene blustered and ranted, but the people weren't scared anymore. When the ballots were counted, she was out, 62 to 18. The gavel slammed, and the spell broke. People cheered, neighbors hugged, someone brought cookies. For the first time, it felt like a real community. But if you think that was the end, yeah, not quite. Marlene wasn't the type to bow out gracefully. Lawsuits, nasty notes, midnight vandalism, caught on my camera, by the way. She threw everything she had at us. But the wall held. The neighborhood held. And when her BMW finally crumpled against the stone in a fit of rage, even the sheriff couldn't help but shake his head. "It's a driveway, Marlene. You hit a driveway." Weeks later, as I stood at the edge of my drive, coffee in hand, watching kids ride bikes and neighbors wave freely for the first time, I couldn't help but think. The wall I built wasn't just stone and sweat. It was a stand, a line in the sand that said enough is enough. Marlene's house sits at the corner now, curtains drawn. Her BMW gathering dust. Some people pity her, some don't. Me? I just feel relief, mixed with that lingering worry. Because power doesn't go quietly. It hides, it waits, and it always wants back in. So yeah, that's my story. That's how a driveway became a battlefield, and a wall became a revolution. And if you've ever dealt with someone like Marlene, you know exactly what I mean. Now, I'm curious, who do you think was right? Where's the line between standing your ground and starting a war? Drop your thoughts below, share your own HOA horror stories, and if you've ever dreamed of building your own stone wall, well, maybe today's the day. Hit like, subscribe, and let's talk about what justice really means when the fight comes right up your driveway. I wish I could tell you that. After Marlene was booted out, everything just snapped back to normal. Peace restored, neighbors grilling burgers together, kids playing soccer where nobody cared about the grass getting torn up. For a little while, it almost felt that way. You know that breath everybody takes after a storm, when the air's heavy but you're just glad to be standing. That's what it was like. Folks actually smiled when they passed each other on the sidewalk. Mrs. Thompson finally put her flamingo statue back in her yard. Mr. Green even let his grandkids paint the shutters any wild color they wanted. Lime, green, purple, didn't matter. The whole street started looking alive again. But you probably know how it goes. Bullies don't go away, not really. They hang around in the shadows, waiting for you to let your guard down, telling themselves the world owes them. And sure enough, Marlene's BMW, hood still dented from her little collision with my stone wall, started creeping around the block again. She'd slowed down right at the dead end, just staring, engine idling like a dog left out in the rain. It was almost sad. Almost, but not quite enough for me to forget every letter, every threat, every bit of chaos she'd stirred up. About 3 weeks after the big vote, the first anonymous note showed up in my mailbox. Plain envelope, shaky handwriting, no return address. "Your yard is an eyesore. You're bringing down the neighborhood. Shame on you." Like I said, they don't just disappear. Neighbors started getting them too. "Your grass is too long. Your door color is wrong. Your kids are too loud." Nobody had to guess where they came from. Marlene might have lost her title, but she still had her pen. The funny part is, the notes didn't scare people anymore. They just ticked everybody off. Folks would bring their letters over to my place, shaking their heads, reading them out loud, and laughing over coffee. Even the folks who'd stayed neutral during the vote started to realize maybe they'd been scared for nothing all these years. That's when the neighborhood changed for good. Mrs. Thompson got this wild idea. What if we wrote a letter back? Not just one person, but everybody. A big, bold, can't ignore it petition, signed by every single house except Marlene's. Just a statement, plain and simple. Enough is enough. So for 2 weeks, I went door to door again, but this time with a clipboard, not a warning. People lined up to sign. Some just scribbled their names quick, like they were afraid the courage might wear off. Others looked relieved, like finally shaking off an old weight. We picked a Saturday morning for the big reveal, right around 8:12. You know the drill. Same time Marlene always made her old shortcut. Run. The whole neighborhood showed up in my yard. Kids holding balloons, grown folks in slippers and ball caps, everyone buzzing with nervous excitement. And when that BMW finally rolled around the corner, we were waiting, 63 signatures on a poster board, big bold letters. We do not consent to your reign. No yelling, no chanting, just quiet, solid presence. She didn't say a word, just stared. I swear, for a second, her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Then she threw the car in reverse and peeled out, rubber screeching, tail lights vanishing down the block. Nobody cheered. Nobody laughed. We just stood there, letting the finality sink in. That was it. That was the real end of the war. Well, almost. About a week later, a sheriff's cruiser parked out front. The deputy wasn't there to arrest anybody. He just looked tired, like he'd rather be anywhere else. Multiple complaints, he told me. Noise, harassment, property violations. All anonymous, of course. I just handed him my file, photos, deeds, reports, everything. He shook his head and told me, don't worry. She's grasping at straws. Just stay calm. But if you think Marlene took the hint, you don't know her. When subtle failed, she went full drama. A month passed, then a lawsuit arrived, delivered by a guy in a suit, envelope heavy enough to knock a squirrel off a fence post. Defamation, harassment, obstruction of community rights. I laughed so hard reading it, I almost spilled my coffee. Marlene suing me for blocking her illegal shortcut? The irony was just too rich. Still, even a joke of a lawsuit can eat you alive. Time, money, nerves. I hired a local lawyer, this wiry old guy with a laugh like a chainsaw. He looked at the stack of paperwork and just grinned. She's got nothing, he said. We'll file a counterclaim for harassment. Let her squirm. And you know what? I believed him. For the first time, the fear shifted. I realized she was the one cornered. Now, she just didn't know how to live without making everyone else smaller. Of course, she tried to take her fight public. Made a YouTube video, all melodrama, drone shots of her BMW sitting in front of the stone wall, violin music in the background, ranting about dangerous obstructions. Sent it to every neighbor. You should have seen the comments section. Strangers roasted her. Neighbors shared the video just to laugh at her. Even the sheriff mentioned it when I bumped into him at the grocery store. Heard you're famous now, Stonewall Jackson. But all the while, Marlene just got angrier. Noise complaints, letters to my boss at work, late-night drive-abys with her headlights blazing into my windows. She never let up, not for a second. She even orchestrated another act of vandalism, sent 2 local teens to smash the wall at midnight. But I caught them red-handed on camera, called the sheriff, and the whole block woke up to see her standing at the curb, directing the show. That was the moment the last of her loyalists faded away. Nobody could pretend anymore. She wasn't defending the neighborhood. She was attacking it. And when the votes for a permanent restraining order came up, not a single person stood in her defense. It's wild, isn't it? How a simple strip of asphalt can change everything. Draw battle lines, reveal people's true colors, rally the timid and expose the tyrants. My driveway's still there, stone wall and all, sun-warmed and solid. But what I see now isn't just a barrier. It's a monument to what happens when people finally say enough, when silence breaks, when folks realize peace doesn't come free. You've got to build it, brick by stubborn brick. So, that's where things stand. The neighborhood's healing, maybe even thriving. We've got barbecues, yard sales, folks trading tools instead of threats. Even Mrs. Thompson's cookies taste better now. And Marlene? She stays quiet. For now, at least. Her house sits dark at the end of the block, curtains drawn, BMW gathering dust. Sometimes I wonder if she'll ever get over it, or if she just sits there counting the days until she can try again. You know, I never set out to lead a rebellion. I just wanted a little peace, a place to call mine, a driveway I didn't have to share with a tyrant in a German car. Funny how life spins out, right? So, what do you think? Does standing up for yourself really change anything? Or does it just invite more trouble? Would you have fought, or just let it slide? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share your own wild neighborhood stories. And if you ever find yourself staring down a Marlene of your own, remember, you don't need a gavel to build a wall. Sometimes, all it takes is a little courage, a few friends, and the willingness to stand your ground, one stone at a time.